And we're back with surviving the Badlands. The Badlands is sort of the red-headed stepchild of all the asteroids you can choose. I've never actually heard anyone say, hey, play the Badlands. It sounds wonderful. I've picked this one here just to show what it looks like. There'll be fewer geysers and vents. It'll be a little bit metal poor, but we just want to get a feel for what the biomes are going to be like and what we're going to be dealing with when we start this. So you're going to start off in your traditional Terra biome. That means algae for oxygen. You've got your copper, sandstone, and we've also got bristle blossoms. I never thought I'd miss bristle blossoms, but yeah, it's actually nice to have those again. Now let's bring open the debug mode and have a look at the map in general. And you'll notice all this horrible granite and obsidian just all the way through here. Yeah, this seems to be a very common theme in the Badlands. It's full of this just, well, basically useless. It's granite, igneous rock, obsidian, and there's little bits of iron and sometimes copper in there. Actually, is that iron? No, it's just iron, actually. Never mind. That's not very really useful to us. Oh, there's some coal. That's about the only useful thing inside that, unless you want to feed an awful lot of hatches. I think actually feeding hatches would be very good on this map. Now, you'll notice that your starting biome is actually quite tiny. I noticed this when I first played, and it seems to be very stretched. That's super elongated, that one. Wow. Okay, so my biome starts up here, goes down through here, and finishes it up down there. 1 second. I just wanted to have a quick look about there. On previous versions, I fired this up a few times just to see what the maps were like, just to make sure I wasn't missing out on anything. And occasionally I find that well, maybe it was because I had boulders or mixed boulders on. Sometimes you were blocked off from getting to parts of your starting biome. So maybe don't use boulders on this setup. If you get a boulder in there, you're basically stopped from getting up into this top third of your biome. So you've got a third of your biome here, a third below you, and a third above you. And weirdly enough, you get a lot of water on this start. There's water here, water there. You'll find more down here as well. And I think there's even a pocket of water over there. There's tends to be quite a decent chunk of starting water, which is really good because there's no other water pockets anywhere else. This is ethanol. There's been a patch update and the new. mm, there's even more water there. But the rust biome now has ethanol in it, which is actually really good. Um, Ethanol is basically petroleum, so it burns at each kilo of it is worth a kilowatt. To put that in perspective, a kilo of coal is worth about 600 watts. So this right here is that's seven. That's 1,400 kilos of water, or of sorry, ethanol. Increase that by 40%, and that's how much you have in coal effectively in terms of power. Definitely nice to tap into those. It'll give you a huge boost to early power production and make, well, anything with a rust biome where you can gain access to these in the first 20 or so cycles will make your life so much easier. Barring that, you've got, of course, caustic biome, coal biome, rust biome, and oil biome. You'll notice there's not a lot of water looking stuff around this map. This is going to be quite a thirsty map. And by thirsty, I mean it doesn't seem like you get many vents or geysers that actually have a lot of water in them. So the plan will be, well, expand rapidly, of course, because expanding rapidly seems to be the best course on pretty much every map I've encountered so far. Water is going to be a problem to get an electrolyzer set up and running, so expand out, grab algae, hit the caustic biomes up for more algae, maybe get some rust and start getting into rust as well. You can also get polluted water by burning the ethanol, so that might be a viable option as well. But we're just going to have a quick look at what the map looks like when we strip out all the materials. After stripping out all the material, and I had a quick check of the geysers and vents, for oil, we've got 3 oil wells. That seems to be almost constant now that you get 3 oil reservoirs. As for water, this one actually came up better than the last two I checked. It's actually got 2 polluted water vents. Normally, I would only get one vent of one type and one vent of water, and then usually a couple of steam vents or steam geysers. But yeah, 2 polluted water vents, one cool steam vent, and one regular steam vent. There's not going to be a huge amount of water on this map. You can't. This one is actually good. Put it that way. At about 6.5 kilos of water, this is a really good map for this particular type. So I wouldn't be making any bets on keeping a lot of water around. And considering the amount of rocks you've got around the place, stone hatch farming would seem to be a really good idea, especially to stretch your water supply, especially in the early game. Well, that's enough checking of that. Let's just fire this one up and see how a map plays. I have found a perfect map for testing. It is both metal rich and metal poor. I think the metal rich actually slightly outweighs the metal poor, so we'll have a little bit more metal than normal to start, but I am perfectly happy with that. Good job, Clay. Good job. This just makes my life an awful lot simpler. Time to pick some dupes. We're going to be going with the same 2 diggers and 1 researcher because 2 diggers seems to be a very powerful technique, and I'm going to stick with it and see how it plays out for us. Oh, quick note for newer people, don't get anemic. It gives your duplicants -5 athletics, which halves their run speed at the very start. Very bad. Also avoid small bladder if you can. It basically means their bladder fills up twice as fast, which means they have to use the bathroom twice as often. This actually scales worse and worse the longer the game goes because they'll have to travel further and further to get back to the bathroom. You can do things to mitigate it by keeping them as a base dupe or something like that, or like inside the base most of the time, but by and large, try and avoid that trait also. Narcoleptics, yeah, they fall asleep periodically just at random times. Usually once a day they'll fall asleep randomly. They will drop whatever they're carrying, and then they will also get a debuff for having slept rough, giving them a -1 to athletics. This will slow down their leveling up. It's just generally bad. It's not like a killer, it's just avoid it if you can. Irritable bowel, perfectly acceptable. It just means they spend more time in the bathroom. This is like a tenth the inconvenience of a small bladder. Reason being, they're already in the bathroom. If they take a little bit longer to use it, it's not that big of a deal. It's much less of a deal than them having to run all the way to the bathroom first. So irritable bowel is one of those things I'm not worried about my dupes having. Same with gastrophobia. I don't care if they can't cook. Someone else can do that. And doctoring errands, don't care about that. Or being unable to attack critters, don't care about that either. Now, allergies have been patched, and I haven't tested them recently, but this basically means exposure to floral scents will crank up their stress reactions horribly, also causing them to sneeze all the time. Generally, just bad. I've actually seen a base where someone had all allergic dupes and did some crazy stuff that way, but generally I would avoid that if you were a newer player. Oh, loud sleepers, they basically annoy nearby dupes, and this is actually really irritating at the start. Later on you can account for it, but early game you usually don't have a lot of space. You're ending up putting all your dupes in a very small location. There's ways around this, unless it's a and considering the way the system works at the moment, you can generally just keep re-rolling and avoid it and get something less painful. Mouth breather is one of the big no-nos. Basically, doubles oxygen consumption. That's just, yeah, that's straight up bad. Pacifist, duplicant can't attack critters. I'm okay with that. There's no problems there. That's definitely one of the good ones to get. Biohazardous, yeah, actually on this map type it won't even make a difference. There's nothing that's actually got germs on it, so biohazardous on some maps is not even going to be a problem. Though they'll probably add more germ sources. I haven't seen any spores or any of those spores in the oil biome recently, so I don't know if they've patched them out or they're waiting on map gen. But usually by the time you get to the oil biome anyway, you've got exosuits, so biohazardous is not one of the worst ones at the moment. Oh, noodle arms is one of those ones that will surprise you. It reduces their strength by 3. Uh, Basically minus 120 kilos of carry capacity. To start, they have 200 kilos. That means they can only carry 80 kilos if they've got this debuff at the start. This is really bad for pretty much anyone because they are all going to be picking stuff up either to do big digging or filling stuff up. This is just really, really bad. Just generally avoid it, especially, well, early on. Late game, you don't care so much, but early on for your first 3 dupes, that's a crippler. Bottomless stomach doubles the calorie intake, or no, it increases their calorie intake by 50%. So instead of consuming 1,000 calories a day, they consume 1,500. Generally not something you want to deal with early on. Late game, you might not care, but in general, I just avoid it if I can at all. It just seems like a really bad trade-off to have increase their calorie consumption by 50%. Flatulent is really annoying. They basically release small amounts of natural gas, the duplicants do, on regular intervals. It will fill up your base and that can stifle some of your crops. It will release natural gas in annoying places that's really hard to get rid of. And it doesn't float in a nice position. It floats above carbon dioxide and it floats above chlorine. So yeah, it is really problematic. Just avoid them in general. I've seen bases where people have actually played entirely flatulent dupes, and their advice was, no, it sucks, don't do it. So yeah, I'll take their advice on that one. I've never tried it myself and have no intention of putting myself through that sort of pain. So same setup again. +7 digging, one with quick learning and one with mole hands. The only reason one of them's got quick learning and one of them's mole hands, whichever one of these I hit first with +7 excavation, not a bad trait, and either quick learning or mole hands, that's the one I take first. So if these could both be mole hands or both be quick learning, I don't care. Researcher has to be quick learning. So we got the Bunk, Mk2, and Lester Freeman, and let's start this off. So same usual start as before. I'm going to run through this really, really quickly because it's the same as it always is. Find somewhere between the water pockets and build a ladder straight through there. So yeah, I'm thinking my main ladder is going to go through this point here. Oh, let's speed this along a little bit. Now you do have to mine at least a little something before you can even start putting in your ladder systems. Same thing again, get up your beds, get up a water supply, then immediately put down some toilets. It, yeah, we've done this many, many times before, and we will do so on the next few maps as well. I'm not going to vary the build. It seems like a waste of time trying to specialize things on this. Oh, please do not drop into the water. Actually, no. Because this is your normal terra biome, you'll actually have more than one hatch, and that one is going to fall down into the water and drown because, yeah, there's too much carbon dioxide in here. Wow, I might actually need to set up oxygen production sooner rather than later. That is unfortunate. Hmm. And for you, those of you who are wondering, yes, I forgot to set my priorities again. Build and dig for the Bunk and Mk2, and Lester will be taking care of all other duties, well, until research becomes available, when that will become their primary focus. We're going to be depending on hiring a dupe around cycle 3 or 6 at the latest that should hopefully take over all the minor roles. You know, cleaning out the toilets, that kind of stuff, all the stuff no one else wants. In fact, we're going to turn off germs straight away. As far as we can tell, germs, not really that big a deal. You don't really need to clean your toilets, and the only way your dupes get infected with germs is if they touch or interact with something that's got germs on it. Which, yeah, we don't care too much. Oh, cooking ingredient, yes. Normally when they interact with anything that's covered in germs, it's going to be the outhouse, and then the moment they pass the sinks, they're cleaned again. So, yeah, we're just going to leave it that way. Yeah, having two builders is going to make this much, 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 much simpler. Look at that, actually. Good trick. Make these all priority 6. Then once that's done, you can queue up a bunch of level 5 commands, so you can get on with your construction and know that that will be done in plenty of time. And if they get any spare time, they'll get around to hollowing out some more space that I'm going to want for the more permanent facilities a little bit later down the road. And there we go. A big queue up of lots and lots of commands that will hopefully make sure that my dupes have plenty to do for the foreseeable future. I'm not... I kind of want to put in blocks here. What'll happen is those will eventually decay. That oxalite will give off all its oxygen, and then I'll be left with a 2-tile gap, and my dupes will get trapped in here. So I really need to keep an eye on that, but I know I'm going to forget. I just know it. So, I'll set these to the opposite direction. You only need to work one way. And you'll notice there that Lester's the one actually filling these up, while the other two, specialist diggers and constructors, are busy doing all the constructing and digging, which is sort of what we want. Yeah, I'll skip forward it a bit because this is just going to be... Oh, one very important thing. Go into edibles and make sure you stick everything in here. Bristleberries, meal lice, mealwood, muckroot, nutrient bars. I should probably actually move this further down, but for the time being I'm going to dump everything in here. The reason you want to get all the muckroot in there is they just remove muckroot from the toilet. If they come out of the toilet and before they get to a sink they pick up some muckroot and start eating it, which has happened to me several times, they can potentially get food poisoning. Yeah. Okay, so oxygen is maybe getting a little bit too dangerous right about now, so what I'm going to do is build all of that up. Yeah, I'd forgotten, this map has much less oxalite than the... Oh, what's the other starter biome? The forest biome. So you're going to want to build an oxygen diffuser pretty much by turn 2, cycle 2, cycle 3 probably at the latest. I mean, this is decaying rather rapidly. Just put another brick there. So yeah, get up a hamster wheel, get up some batteries, get up an oxygen diffuser, and get all of that up and running. You really, really, really do want to get some oxygen out, it seems. If we check the oxygen overlay, things are not looking very healthy at all. Oh my god, they can't even get the batteries up and running. Come on, get those batteries up. And of course, my particular fashion, I installed a second oxygen diffuser because the oxygen was not actually diffusing fast enough for my tastes. Also, I am hollowing out the map at a ridiculous rate with these two dupes. One good thing about this map, though, is it is covered in copper. Good lord, I can build whatever I want in copper-wise. That's actually a very nice touch. I'm going to put in my usual build here. Toilets, dining hall. I don't think I have enough room for food on top. This map is going to be very narrow. You're going to have to compress your build down. Whatever your preferred method is, it's going to end up really, really compact. I think I'm probably going to end up digging down here quite a bit and putting my water pool probably somewhere over here. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Anyway, I'll skip this forward a bit. It's just the basics of surviving the early. It's not that bad. First duplicate choice at cycle 3. That's a narcoleptic. I don't want them. They're not going to be the worst. I really do not want a narcoleptic at this point. So we've got yokel or pacifist. Both of those are perfectly acceptable. And irritable bowel. So we've got either a cooker or a build-in supply. I think we'll go with, yeah, this one will be our general dog's body for taking care of everything. And welcome. Now, at the same time, I've been digging down here just to give myself a bit of a carbon pit. The oxygen's managing to displace most of the carbon dioxide. and the extra pressure forces it down so you don't have to deal with it so constantly. Not having my dupes running back and forth, actually choking all the time, definitely very useful. In fact, I have so much water, I'm going to have to find somewhere to put it all. I have actually too much. I think I'm going to have to dump it all over here. It's eating into my available space to build anything. Uh, Also, oh, yeah, new dupes come with new skills. You've got cooking, but we're going to put you immediately into supply. Reason being, their primary focus at the moment is not going to be building and digging. They're going to be resupplying stuff and generally doing all the stuff I don't want any of my other dupes doing. Okay, I had all my dupes standing around idle. That was bad. And also, we're going to get into research, straight into meal prep again, so that we can get up a mess table, so we can get up the dining hall. Also, we can move our food around with a ration box, which means it all won't go off. At the moment, what have we got? Nutrient bar and muck root. Yeah, I think good. The dupes ate the meat that was lying around the place. I didn't want to waste calories. You also find your calories going up quite handily, namely because you have access to so much muck root. Keep digging. Just don't stop digging, ever. Make sure you always have stuff queued up so that your dupes are always active. I'm going to get up some bathrooms up here, but I'm also going to dig down here. I'm going to undercut this water tank, and then I'm going to basically make this the centralized water tank. There's way too much water. I need it all out of the way. I want this free space to put in ranches, even though there's not actually that much. That's all undiggable. It's all granite over here. So until my dupes get up to level 2 skills, which will probably be about cycle 4 or 5. It'll be 5? Let's see. What are you at? Yeah, it's going to be about cycle 5 or 6. You think I'd know this by this point. But yeah, well, until they get their advanced digging, I won't be able to touch that granite. And I still won't be able to touch abyssalite for another, what, 10, 12 cycles after that. But in the meantime, we're going to excavate everything we can. Oh, we can't also go through obsidian. Another wonderful quirk of this map. It has lots of obsidian everywhere. Obsidian and abyssalite are the last things you get to mine out when you get to the top level skill. Yeah, diamond and obsidian. Actually, no, abyssalite's level 2. Never mind. Abyssalite's level 2 and obsidian's level 3. Apologies. Now, we'll skip forward a little bit more. So we finally got skill points for everyone. So hard digging for the bunk, hard digging for McNulty, and Lester goes straight into science. Standard. Now this will allow me to dig out some of the areas I couldn't dig before. So it'll allow me to finish off this little project down here and start mining out even more of this area. Actually, let's just go straight across there. More space, the merrier. Oh, actually, my algae is not nearly as nice as I would like it. It's 1.5 tons. That's not a lot. I'm going to have to find a hell of a lot more algae, which means that ladder is going to have to go up further. There's got to be some algae up here somewhere. Either that or I just rolled short. It can happen that you'll roll short for algae. If that's the case, well, this is going to be a much more difficult start than I anticipated. Anyway, yeah, just these are this same start works for pretty much every map as far as I can see so far. I'll just finish consolidating this water, and then it's going to be a case of stripping all of this out. There's a bunch of algae in there I'm also going to want. Well, once the water's out of the way. Next duplicate choice at cycle 6, we've actually got two possibilities. This one only has irritable bowel, this one is only squeamish. Both of those are perfectly fine. The flatulent dupe, that's not an option. So with +7 animal husbandry, that means I can get a good rancher in effect. So that's the one I'm going to go for. Another viable one, this could be potentially a tinkerer, or even the cooking is not terrible, I suppose. But yeah, if this one wasn't here, I'd probably take this one and turn them into a tinkerer. Actually, quite lucky on both of those picks. Oh yes, I'm going to need more beds, aren't I? Bed queued up. That'll be perfect. Finally, about to get the actual dining hall up and running. That'll give us some extra morale. But morale at this point is not a big deal. If you'll see here, so long as they've only got actually 1 point required, namely because all the dupes I've hired, I'm putting them into skills they actually care about. Except for, of course, these new ones. Rhonda, you're going straight into improved farming, and then you're going to be going into ranching. You'll become my rancher, but priorities-wise, you're just going to help out around the place. We don't... Yeah, there we go. The only people... Sorry, wrong way. Down one. So basically, she'll do ranching first. After that, she'll do anything else except for building and digging, and only if everything else is done will she bother with building and digging. That's just the general way it goes. Oh, and the dining hall is already complete. That's... Yep, there we go. +3 morale. That sorts out all morale problems for a long time to come. Okay, that dupe is doing nothing. A few more commands, it's all good. Now, the only thing really special about this map, as far as I can see, is the really confined spaces you've got to work with. You're not going to be able to get through obsidian, and you're not going to be able to get through abyssalite. They're basically off. There's nothing you can do about that for a long time. Well, First 20 cycles is a long time. You're going to have to work with what you get. So that means digging lots up and digging lots down. Currently, I'm just consolidating my water supply so it's not such an horrific mess. Oh, actually, we can leave those there now. Once the water supply is consolidated, I'll have a lot more space to work with and hopefully a lot more food. What am I up to? 30,000 calories. I might want to start getting some mealwood up and running before this becomes a problem. And there we have our nice water tank set up and running. It's a nice big one. I've stuck a liquid pump in it already so that I don't have to deal with this later. And now let's just let the rest of the water in. Let it all flow. Oh, I should probably put in a plumbing. Where's it? A water pump. Yep. Pitcher pump. Gonna need one. A bit there. You know what? There's perfect. All the water. Dear Lord, there's a lot of water on this map. I'd forgotten what it was like to be playing on one of these Terra maps, or what do they call this? The temperate map? Don't care. Excellent. I've missed having this much water to start with. The lack of water in the surrounding biomes, that's going to hurt a little bit, but so long as I've got all this to start, I think I'll be fine for a while. And I think I'm going to have to put in a slightly higher up version of that. Yeah, yeah, I don't want my dupes getting soaked every time they go down to grab some of that. In the meantime, I've been just doing some research. I'm getting my hands on a carbon skimmer, and after that, I'm going to get my hands on some smart batteries and basically take care of all this carbon dioxide down here because I'm switching to coal power. What are we looking like on consumable ore? Yeah, we got 14 tons of coal. We got plenty of coal to go nuts with, so I am going to go nuts with it. Did one of my dupes just get sick? Hypothermia. Mk2 got hypothermia. You know what? I believe it only lasts a cycle now, does it? Time remaining 96 seconds. They'll be fine. A little bit of stress, but considering the high morale, they should be okay. That might explain why they're getting hypothermia. They keep running around in this water. Uh, yeah, this map so far, nothing really too different from the other ones. Now, this is one of those times where you ignore noodle arms. Uh, we're already a bit into the game, and we don't care if this duplicant has noodle arms. They do have machinery, which means they can become my tinkerer. They have suit wearing, which they're all going to get into. It'll save one morale point. I'm not going to make this duplicant an astronaut, but eventually they will get into exosuits. Doctoring, not so useful, but if it is an emergency, I can always put someone in medicine. The reason I don't mind getting them this now is the moment they spawn, I go straight into skills, I select them, and instead of putting them into tinkering, which is going to be their field, I just put 1 point into improve carry, which increases their carry capacity by 400 kilos. They start with 200 minus 120 for the negative noodle arms, but the moment I put them into supply and carry, they're now up to 520 kilos, or 580 kilos. So who cares? It's a minor negative to them, and they work out quite well. And as well as that, they'll skill up quite quickly because they're about to become my primary tinkerer anyway. Where is it? Yeah, put build and dig down, and we'll put operate up by 1, reduce everyone else's. Yeah, so that means they'll run on the hamster wheel more often than the rest. Though once this water, oh wow, what happened there? Once this water situation is all mopped up, I'll be putting in some power. I'll actually go switch straight over to coal. Food, no, still 32,000 calories. Jeez, the amount of calories you can dig up in this map is actually pretty epic. 1 second. And now we have some more commands for everyone. Perfect. Now, I need to put in some food actually here at some point. So let's just throw in a few farm times. Actually, I think I'll hold out until I've got hydroponics tiles. For the time being, I have plenty of food. Well, 28,000 calories. It's enough to keep me going a while longer. I already have 6 dupes, but my algae is what I worry about the most. Getting oxygen is going to be a problem. I may just have to go straight into the rust. I think that's going to be my best bet. There's salt and rust down here. Yeah, I think I have no other choice on this map. Well, there is some ethanol here for power. I'm going to definitely tap into that later. Though the ethanol is kind of redundant. I already have more coal than I'm going to need for power for quite some time. We can actually just cut right in there and grab some of that. Oh, actually salt and rust. Yeah, we'll just take all of those. Thank you very much. And we'll also take that salt vine as well. Duplicate choice at cycle 12. Bottomless stomach is a definite no-no. Biohazardous is fine, but, well, they're a digger. I don't want a digger at this particular point. I've already got 2. I don't need another, so I'm just going to take the acorn, even though I'm probably never going to use it. One thing I forgot about this map, because I hadn't played Temperate in a while, was, yeah, you only start with a tiny amount of seeds. I checked here, I only had 5 mealwood seeds and 2 blossom seeds. Food is actually going to become a problem here. This is going to get very delicate. I'm going to have to raid the surrounding biomes, and I may have to start harvesting animals in the wild biomes just to keep enough food on the table. Oh, we'll see what happens. Uh, I'll just have to keep trying, I suppose. Oh yeah, down here, I'm just putting in the carbon skimmer. As you can see, this entire area down here is now full of carbon, so I want to get that carbon skimmer up and running while getting in and out of there is not horrible. Currently, I'm just getting myself up a water sieve so I can immediately sieve that polluted water. I used to just dump it in a pit, but now that water sieves don't generate as much heat, it seems like a good idea just to run it through a water sieve and be done with it. Which reminds me, I should get some plumbing in there while I've got the chance. Cycle 14, I've got my hands on super hard digging for the bunk and McNulty, which means I can now take out, well, what was it again? I believe it's abyssalite and yeah, well, Abyssalite you can now get out of my way. Obsidian, unfortunately, still can't get through that. That's still unbreakable, which is probably the most annoying aspect of this entire map so far, is the Abyssalite getting in the way of everything. I've hooked up one coal generator here, though I haven't gotten around to getting in the automation just yet. I just hooked this up because one dupe on a manual generator couldn't keep up with all the power I was drawing eventually. I maybe got a little bit greedy. Now, next up is crops. Well, first off, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to just make sure this is all automated with coal, with a shutoff and a power transformer. Then I'm going to go up and start doing bristle blossoms because I do not have enough food here. Just not a hope. My calories are going down too quickly. My only hope is throw out a bristle blossom farm, keep mining the mealwood, and then I've spotted what looks like another temperate biome up here and hope that's got more muckroot and more seeds up there that I can hopefully exploit. First, this, then food. Cycle 15, and we have a bottomless stomach and allergies, which is a double no-no, triophobia for can't dig, which is a no-no, and another bottomless stomach, which is also another no-no. Water it is. Since the last update, all I've done is finish this off. Well, almost finish this off. Let's actually just get some automation in there. Cancel that, Waslan. Now the reason we set this to 9040, well 9050, is just the way that if the last I checked, when these power generators are mid-animation, they can't stop. So if the battery hits 100% and this is mid-animation, it won't stop and it will burn off some extra power. So just as a minor precaution, you usually like to place all your power generators below 100%, usually 50 to 90, 40 to 90, something like that. Just the max level is 90. Oh, someone was complaining that their batteries were overloading still, or they were getting overloads on their wire. If that's happening, what you need to do is make sure you don't have a battery on the consumer side. If you'll notice here, I have this battery on the far side of the transformer. That means I can get overloads. If everything in my base starts drawing power at the same time, it will draw more power than the wire can handle. Actually, how much energy have I got? Yeah, 1.5. So if I turn on all my machines at the same time, I'm going to start getting overloaded wires. So the moment that automation wire goes into place, I'm going to deconstruct that battery. Well, in a minute. In the meantime, I am going up, 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 so that I can get access to more food. And at the same time, I'm going to research hydroponic tiles. I want the hydroponic farm tiles so that I can start planting bristleberries. Also, I'm going to want the plumbing for those. I could use them without the plumbing, but I really don't want to. I like having them plumbed and automated. Though it's going to take me more time, it's going to bring me closer to death and running out of food for my duplicants. Whatever, say la vie. Anyway, we'll skip forward a little bit here. Hopefully this will provide us with... Oh, great, there's more water up there. Actually, that's not too bad. I can pour that down. Actually, I can't really pour that down. Actually, I could. You know what? That's a project for a later date. Now it's food, food, food all the way. I've even built these in. Let's turn on a lice loaf. I'm making lice loaf. I may have to make muckroot bars. Ooh, yeah, 3,000 calories of meal lice, only 8,000 of muckroot. Oh, there's been a change to this now. If you make mush bars have germs in them now. Food germs. So if your duplicants eat mush bars, they'll get 1,000 calories or 1,000 food germs or something along the lines of that. So if you want to get, you can't even make fried mush bars anymore. So this will give your duplicants diarrhea, as far as I'm aware. I am actually going to have to test that now. I'll build one and see what happens. So there it is, a freshly produced mush bar covered in 1,000 germs. Oh, we can make mush fry now. Perfect. Now you can make mush fry, which will fry it up and give you a few more calories, but that just means you're taking two cook operations. It's not very efficient, but if you do decide to do that, which I'm going to have to do just to be safe, I would advise you to go in here, find mush bar, and remove it as something they can consume. You can control what they consume here. So I'm not letting them eat the raw meal lice. I want to process it into lice loaf because I get more calories out of it. It's more water intensive, but water's not my biggest concern right now. That rapidly diminishing pool of calories is my big concern. I don't want them eating the mush bar because, well, it's full of germs, so I'm going to cook it up. I am going to dedicate duplicants to cooking a lot. What are you doing? No, just dump it straight into the grill. Never mind. In the meantime, I'm going to dig up here and hopefully I can find, well, there's at least some muckroot and there's a few buried things. That should hopefully be a lifesaver for me. You know, if I just removed mush bars as one of the foods that gets thrown in here, they wouldn't ever attempt to bring them down. They just sit there until someone cooked them up. I think that's just a smarter idea. It's going to cut down on transport costs. So, yeah, running a bit low on food, so time for emergency measures. One is this hatch in here has actually laid an egg, and because it's laid an egg, well, its usefulness in this world has ended. Hopefully some lasers will help it evolve into a more useful form, which will be barbecue. Now, barbecue has been changed quite heavily. For one thing, you basic you basically just don't need any pepper nuts anymore. You can get +3 food quality, which, okay, it's decreased its morale gain, so you're only going to get, oh, what is it? I think it's 8. Is it 8 morale? I'm pretty sure it's 8 morale you're going to get out of it now. But you don't need any pepper nuts. You can cook it up directly from raw meat. Perfectly acceptable. Makes an excellent food source. It just won't be the highest end food source. I think they're having meat as sort of intermediate now, as opposed to high end. The only way you can make it high end is if you make burgers out of it. However, all of this has changed really recently, so we'll see what happens. It may stay in the game, it may not. They've been doing an awful lot of changes in these patches. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm quite enjoying it. It just means I have to adapt constantly all the time without stopping. Oh, and why is no one digging up there? Oh, is there no oxygen? Oh, it's barely breathable. Yes, I should probably get some oxygen up there pretty soon. So, as some of you have probably been shouting at the screen for the last 5 minutes, I've run out of algae. No more oxygen. Okay, so emergency procedures are in effect. First step, oxygen production. We don't have the research. Yeah, this is going to get really, really dicey. Okay, I have approached this map all wrong in many respects, but hey, on the bright side, at least you know what mistakes not to make. Is there any point expanding up here any further? So food is pretty desperate, oxygen is pretty desperate. Oh, algae, a whole bunch of algae up here. You know what? Let's priority 6 these suckers. Oh, they're already priority 6. And let's dig this whole thing out. That should give us enough algae to get started. Well, at least hold out until salt becomes a thing. Yeah, let's make that priority 6 all the way across there. That should hopefully solve the oxygen problem in the interim. Oh, I can also replace some of these tiles down here that are algae. I was trying to preserve the environment. That is no longer a concern. We can also get rid of these. Yeah, also you can all go. That should give me enough algae to get by, at least until I get the salty oxidizers up and running. Okay, we got everything? Yeah. Yeah, lots and lots of mistakes going on here. What's everyone's priorities on? I might want to send 1 or 2 more people into digging. Actually, if I'm not doing research, I want you digging, so that'll give me 3. The other 3, no, you can stick with what you're doing. I'm not going to enable proximity just yet. It's a little early in the game to be enabling proximity. I'll skip this forward a bit. Hopefully we'll have enough algae to survive just that little bit longer, and then we'll get into rusty oxidizing as well. Yeah, that's actually slowing... Yeah, still got some algae in there. Good stuff, good stuff. That's actually going to slow down the progression up here because the oxygen is so barely breathable. Let's see what happens. How long can they hold their breath up here before they got to go back down again? Not very long, and they're not getting much done. Where are you going? No idea. Oxygen. We're going to have to use the new rusty oxidizer. I'm going to place one about, let's say here is good, and I'll place another one about here. Actually, let's triple down on these. Great, I don't have any mesh tiles. Okay, I'm going to have a bit of a chlorine problem at first, but yeah, we'll just research bathrooms. That'll get us mesh tiles, and that will be that problem solved. I'm going to make those priority 6. Yeah, this will dump a lot of heat into my base. There's not really much I could do to avoid that. I'm just going to have to live with it. Okay, you can go in there, and you can go in there. And that one, You know what? I'm not going to hook that one up just yet. 2 should be enough combined with the algae that I should be getting when hopefully they break through up there. Come on. Come on, Mk2, you can do this. No, where are you going? Where? Like, what is obviously so important? Oh, sandstone. Oh! I've been... I didn't leave any. Normally when you go up, what you should do is dig out these areas here, like that, and it gives you build material. And I should have been making these ladders out of granite. I forgot all those early little tricks you used to speed things along. So I should have been making the ladders here out of granite, and I should have been digging out 4 tiles here so that there's a little pile of granite for them to pull from. That would definitely have made things a lot simpler. Alright, you know what? Let's just do that. Cancel a couple of these suckers, and yeah, let's make you out of granite. Silly. Just absolutely silly. Awaiting sandstone delivery. No, thank you. We will make you granite too. So, still alive. I managed to get enough algae out of here and some muckroot. It's actually keeping me going just a bit. I'm also got some mush fry going on. Those mush bars, once I convert them into mush fry, will be okay. Food-wise, still looking very bad. Oxygen-wise, not looking too bad. Actually, let's prioritize those a little bit there. I want to have all of that stuff dropping down to the bottom. And I'm even going to put in a few salt vines down here just to get rid of all that nasty chlorine I'm going to start accumulating. We'll have to see how these work out in terms of oxygen production, but I've ripped out all the algae oxygen diffusers except one. I'm only going to run one of them at the moment, and I'm going to let these rust deoxidizers take up the rest of the load. I suppose notes, yeah, get into food a lot sooner. Like, an awful lot sooner. Unrefrigerated food. Oh yes, how's the atmosphere in there looking? I never... Ooh, chlorine and polluted oxygen. Well, that's not good. I need to actually fill that area up with carbon dioxide. I was planning on waiting until that obsidian was gone, but okay, that's a project for a little bit later. Yeah, get your mealwood up sooner than I did. That was my mistake. If I had got the mealwood up sooner, they would have replicated faster. I would have had more seeds, and it would have helped to smooth out my food transition. Get the bristle blossoms up faster. I have no idea how I only have 2 seeds. That's not actually possible. I actually checked the start footage. I had 4 of them that I could see. There was 4 bristle blossoms that I could see at the very start of the game. I have no idea how I've only got 2 now. Somehow I buried them or entombed them or something. They just don't exist anymore. Which reminds me, I should probably replace any tiles that have those little, see those little marks on them? That means there's something buried in there. Hopefully it's, food or oxygen or, well, something useful. Actually, we'll get rid of those as well. So yes, get mealwood down soon. Develop it quickly so you can actually expand your population of mealwood. Same with bristle blossoms. Expand rapidly. I still would not take that back. Definitely a good choice. Stick on algae for a while, but rusty oxidizer pretty much, as far as I can tell, they're your only choice. You're going to have to get into them on this map. You do not have a choice any other way. The reason being, there's just not enough algae to keep you going. Well, maybe if you go small. Ooh, there's something there. I should probably dig that out. Yeah, no, I don't want to start tapping those for water. If they're water, it'd just be too easy. I want to make sure I actually get to a reasonable level of the game without actually getting a lucky geyser find. Anyway, yeah, so the plan should be, yeah, get a stable up and running. I want to start ranching as soon as possible. Ranching is probably about the only thing that'll pull my food out of the hole at this stage. Actually, we'll get rid of you. Yeah, so we'll just skip forward a little bit here. Considering the low food and the low oxygen, I probably should not be hiring another dupe, but this one only has irritable bowel and they have +3 animal husbandry, which means they're my next rancher anyway. I've already got one, this will just be my second. I can't help myself. I will just keep hiring dupes until I've hit the 8. I always try to target 8 dupes. It just gives a more stable base where I can get things done in a reasonable time frame. Plus, the food's coming in, the oxygen's not terrible. And now all the chlorine will end up down here and these plants will take care of it. I mean, we're hitting that stability point. I mean, power's working out. 1 of 3 ain't bad. Power, oxygen, food. 1 out of 3, it's okay. But yeah, I should probably get in some... Oh, I never put in any composts. Yeah, I wonder what the... Actually, is that producing oxygen? If it's producing oxygen, who cares? Yeah, polluted oxygen. Yeah, I should probably start disposing of that. And I need to find a better way to preserve my food. It's going to start going off in there. So yeah, I'll stick a coal generator there. That'll dump in a bunch of CO2. That'll be okay. Yeah, I'll just put in an airflow tile there. I'm pretty sure when I put that in, though, that's going to count as a piece of machinery and will mean that I'm going to lose my mess hall bonus. Yeah. So I'm going to burn one load of coal, let the CO2 dump in here hopefully, and knock out all the other gases, and that should keep my food pit fairly safe. I could just relocate my food pit somewhere else. I just don't want to move it too far away from where it currently is. It would be an inconvenience. I've already got the cooking facilities here. Cycle 21, eighth duplicants. Well, I don't know how many duplicants I've had a choice at now, but this is my eighth duplicant. This one has strength and machinery, which is all I really care about. They're going to be my second tinkerer. Two tinkerers, two ranchers, two diggers, one general all-rounder, and one, damn it, one artist. That's basically what I aim for. So this will be my second tinkerer, bringing me up to 8. The mole hands, the quick learner, they're just bonuses. They're not really what I'm after them for. Just as long as they have operate, it'll reduce their morale requirements. And then, of course, immediately stick them on a second schedule, which has been moved over here, even though I keep going over here to find it. Yeah, William Rolls. And J. Landsman. Once they're over there, boom. That's the first 8 I start with. I'll probably stick at 8 for a long time. That's my general plan. Now, one problem I've discovered is hatches. Yes. Yeah, the problem here is that the hatches won't turn into stone hatches unless I feed them sedimentary rock. Well, there's a 2% chance of them dropping a stone hatch egg. So 1 in 50. There's no sedimentary rock on this map. So I'm basically stuck feeding hatches. To do hatches, I need to feed them sand. That's pretty much the only thing I have available to me right now that I can feed them is sand. For sand, I've got 47 tons. Okay, we'll see how that works out. So I'm going to have to start feeding hatches sand, and then hopefully after a while I'll eventually get at least one stone hatch egg. At that point I can mass breed them. But as it is, I'm putting in a second power grid just so that I can actually run several incubators. I am going to rapidly breed large quantities of them because I need the food. Yeah, that's a lot of mush fry. Not nearly enough lice loaf, though I'm slowly getting more seeds. Yeah, I would get into hatches earlier. I would get into mealwood earlier. That was my bad. I should have really thought about that more carefully. And hatches are not going to be that great. To get sand, I'm going to have to start smashing up rocks. 47 tons will last me a while, but you can smash up granite into sand, igneous rock, and obsidian can all be smashed up into sand. 1-to-1 ratio. It just requires duplicate labor. For each hatch, you're going to need to feed them 140 kilos. It's going to be a lot of labor. We'll see how this plays out. We'll run this on a bit further and we'll see how it goes. This map is definitely a lot trickier than I was expecting. One fun thing that I never even noticed until right now. The iron out here, it's actually refined iron. So I have access to refined metals and lots of them. I've got 28 tons of refined iron. Yeah, perfect. That means I have loads and there's even more of it out there. That's one bonus of this map. I've just thrown down 4 incubators and I didn't have to run this rock granulator at all, which is good because I'm probably going to turn a bunch of something into sand. I'm guessing probably the granite. Yeah, let's just queue up 100 of those. Or 99? Yep. There we go. 99. That's of course going to that's going to consume a lot of labor, but I'd rather get that started now sooner. This is going to be all sage hatches. Incubate continuous, and you, yep, sage hatches, incubate continuous. I'll probably run 3 of them. Power wire is now running. Yeah, I've literally built them their own separate power grid just to run these 3. Or run 4. I'll probably run 3 of them to start. I don't think I'm going to need 4. My food should pull out of the hole before that happens. I've got mush fry. Actually, no. 8 and 16. I'm going to run out of calories in 2 cycles. Okay, I'm going to queue up some more food. So finally, at cycle 25, you can get a dupe up to super hard digging. Mk2's at super hard digging, and the bunk will be, well, the bunk will follow shortly. Now the whole map is open. Now I can actually dig out all the spaces I couldn't dig out before. And what was it? Oh yeah, I was actually going to check out down here and just see what's there. I'm not going to tap into it though. If that's water, that'd just be way too easy. This down here, I checked already with bricks. This is a little trick you can do. If you try and place tiles over it, it won't let you. So that way you know that down there, that's some sort of vent. Vents are usually not water. This one, however, is squat, so it could be water, it could be an oil fissure. Well, we'll find out when we actually break it open. Also, it gives you a good idea if you're facing a volcano and stuff like that. Handy way just to check things. Oh, also another way to check if there's stuff around the map, you can just, well, do this. It'll show you all plants, they show up with a priority. Also, what is that? Oh, there's a nosh sprout buried in there. Okay. Yeah, but it'll tell you where stuff is buried even. So it's not the worst thing in the world to look around like this occasionally, just to see if you can see anything. What's there? Oh, another plant. Anyway, right now I'm basically trying to expand my hatch farms, increase my regular farms, and increase my bristleberry farms. I got one bristle blossom. Oh, more skills. The bunk can join the super hard diggers. Excellent. Now, hmm, the one biggest thing I would take from all of this is don't mess up like me. Another mistake I made is I got two tinkerers. Well, I messed up which ones I needed. I should have got only one tinkerer and one artist. So now I don't have an artist, which is normally a very important part of my plan. Yeah, I don't have one of those now. Oops. Uh, yeah, I may have to hire another dupe just so I can get a proper artist. But in the meantime, I'm going to try throwing down a giant metal block. As you see here, its decor is plus 20, and if we throw that in there, all we're missing now, that should give us a great hall if I put in a water fountain in there. Where is it? To great hall. Great hall. 20 plus decor item. We'll see if it works. Because I'm a bad human being, I'm going to hire a dupe with narcolepsy. I basically need an artist as soon as possible. So the first one that came across my desk is the one that's going into my base. I will have to, of course, give them a table and a bed and all of that, but what can you do? What can you do? Now, oh, one very important feature they've added into this, where is it? Options game. You can change save frequency, auto save frequency. I've got it once every cycle at the moment because the game is working just fine, so why not? But later on, you can set that to 1, 2, 5, 10, never, 50, 20. It's variable, which is perfect. We've been screaming out for something like that. In fact, it was a mod that did that. So as you can imagine, very popular with me. I like that idea. It's going to become a lot more useful later on in the game. Now, I'm just going to put in. I'm going to finish off the kitchens and then I'm going to change these bathrooms to actually plumbed bathrooms. I've got the resources that I don't care. Ellis, you can go straight into art fundamentals and Rawls straight into critter ranching. Yep, perfect. Now we've got actual two ranchers and no eggs. How do I have no hatch eggs? That just blows my mind. Once every 6 cycles, they should drop an egg. That one is, 49%. Seriously? Hmm. It's going to take me a while to ramp up the hatch population. I was assuming I'd have more. I've got two babies hatchings already in play, but hopefully I can increase this a little bit faster. I already turned the sage hatchling eggs. I quickly turned them into omelets, namely because I needed the food. There should be actual. Oh, there's some mush fry. So right now, I'm still living mostly on mush fry, which is really bad. It's very labor intensive. It's terrible. I should never have got into this position. Learn from my mistakes. Don't do this. We are cycle 37, and this is about the point I'd probably restart this map. It's not that I'm going to die or anything, it's just a case of, well, I've learned an awful lot about how to play this map on this first run through. Uh, I've also found a cool slush geyser. I found a cool steam vent, so water solved. In fact, I've just found a second cool steam vent up here, so water is definitely solved. And I found an iron volcano, which, well, I don't need it just yet. I've got about 60 tons of iron I've harvested from the map. But I'd like to just talk about, well, first, some of the things I would do differently on this map, and then the actual theme I think they're going for with this map. One, rusty oxidizers. I would get into them sooner rather than later. The reason being, they're just rust and salt, which you need. You need a lot of salt, actually. Salt will probably be your limiting factor with them, not the rust. Rust is far more common, but there is some patches, like see here, there's big chunks of salt there. I actually did a big dig over here just to grab a bunch of salt, not realizing there was a whole lot of it right over here I could have tapped into. But you're going to need more salt than you do rust, so keep an eye out for the salt. The rust you'll find enough of. One of the big downsides of these, though, is if you go in here, let's click on rusty oxidizers. And thanks to a comment from Kaeldor, he pointed out that if I actually hover over these here, it tells me what temperature the oxygen comes out at. So the oxygen is produced at 75C or hotter if the input materials are hotter. So the minimum output temperature of the oxygen and chlorine is 75C, and the iron also 75C. So this produces an awful lot of heat. To put in perspective, algae deoxidizer 30C. Thanks again for pointing that out, Kildor. Knowing those is actually quite handy. Like if you use the new deodorizers, output of oxygen is the combined temperature of the input materials. So the sand or filtration medium and the diluted oxygen give the combined temperature. Just good to know those little things. So I built mesh tiles all the way up, straight through my base. So I could put rusty oxidizers up here. In fact, if I was doing this again, I would probably build, say, two rusty oxidizers pretty down low, and then two really up high, somewhere near a cold biome. This one here is near a cold biome, but not close enough. You can see it's actually heating up the area, and it probably will stifle those bristle blossoms sooner rather than later. Now, the next thing I do with them is, see this here, I've queued up auto sweepers. Unfortunately, I can't build those auto sweepers because I need a mechatronics engineer, and a mechatronics engineer, yeah, that needs 5 skill points to get mechatronics engineer. You need improved carrying for some reason, and you need electrical engineering before you can get it. But once those are built, I would actually get those auto sweepers to pick up that iron ore, conveyor it over here, and then drop it down to the bottom of the map. So you could take all that iron ore. That iron ore is generating the majority of the heat, as far as I can tell. It has a pretty good thermal capacity on it. 0.449. Actually, what's the oxygen? Actually, oxygen's probably more. Never mind. But all of that raw material, you want to move. I would get all that iron ore out of there. It is not helping the temperature. Not at all, at all. Food-wise, I'm still having to make mush bars. Yeah, start farms early to get your seeds up and running. Don't make the mistakes I did on that one. Now I want to cover what I think the actual overall theme of this map is. Actually, one second. This here is the map. I basically loaded up the map seed just to show it from scratch, just to try and get a feel for what this is. This is basically a desert map in many respects. If you've seen the Oasis map, it actually is almost the same thing, except instead of having a desert full of hot sand, you have a desert full of really difficult to mine rock. Granite, you need at least level 1 digging for your dupes to be able to mine granite, and I usually specialize into diggers, and the other dupes will help out with the digging, but normally you're not going to be dealing with this quantity of granite and obsidian that's going to be floating around the place. So this map basically forces you, or confines you, so that it's much harder to escape out of your starting areas. Even when you do escape out of your starting area and you get +1 mining, I mean, without +1 mining, you're trapped in an area about this big. You can't get out. All of this granite, it actually walls you in and contains you. And then even when you get +1 mining, you can't escape past the obsidian and the abyssalite, so you're not breaking into most of the surrounding biomes either. You can still get into usually 1 or 2 adjacent biomes with just level 1 digging, but it's not going to be too good. Once you get into level 2, you're pretty much got free reign, but you're still hemmed in by large chunks of obsidian all the way around. And until you get level 3 mining, you can't get past that. So effectively, you're trapped. You're trapped and you have restricted options on where you can go and what you can do. And even when you do break out of your starting biomes, most of this Badlands area full of granite, obsidian, some igneous rock, little bits of iron and coal, it's mostly useless to you. This is effectively a desert area and it's really slow to mine. The tougher a material is, the harder it is to mine. Throw in on top of that, there's no naturally occurring water on this map. Well, unless you want to melt an ice biome, which might actually be an option if you get desperate enough for water. So what they've done is they've put you on a map where it's hard to get water, where you can't get access to water, and to get full sustainability, you're going to have to explore the whole map, find all the pieces of neutronium, and try and get your hands on a water vent or something to give you water. But to get there, you have to explore vast tracts of land that are really, really tough to mine through, and you'll probably only have a couple of dupes who are qualified to do it. So it's going to be difficult to do. Couple of specialist diggers definitely made this map where I didn't die. Considering how badly I just went face first into this map, I was not prepared at all to handle it quite well. But 2 really good diggers will definitely help out, and you may want to actually get a few of your other dupes, say the ones that are going to help out with digging occasionally, along with their primary focus, say your art dupe and your tinker dupes. It might be an idea to actually get them to have +1 digging. It will slow down some of your later stuff, but it might be an idea just so you can actually expand in a reasonable time frame. Now on this map, I don't know if it's on all of them, but on this one, it probably would have been a better idea for me to keep jigging down, down, down. As you can see here, the lower portion of the map seems to be full of more biomes that I could actually excavate for useful resources. I'd have to do a few more tests to be sure. No, it turns out directly below is not always a good option. This is just another map I loaded up. It's geoactive, geodormant, so no other changes. Uh, yeah, the theme seems to be they want you to actually tap into, say, down here and get into this biome, which would allow you access into all of these surrounding biomes, and then maybe try and force you to avoid areas like this. Expanding into these areas is pretty much, well, not detrimental, but just very inefficient. You don't get much out of it except a bunch of granite, which you can't use because you don't have any sedimentary rock to make stone hatches. Obsidian, can't use it for the same reason, and igneous rock. The the iron that's in there is actually useful, but not nearly as useful usually as, say, cracking into a coal biome or getting more algae or rust or anything along those lines. So I think what they're trying to do is force you to actually expand more organically on here, and you eventually can get rid of all of this annoying rocks that are going to be around the place. Just not really as efficient. If I had to do this all over again, I would probably just get it whatever I need for my core base and then expand out into those side areas. Or alternatively, you could do the rusty oxidizer move. For me, if I had to do this all over again, my plan would be to dig straight up and down as usual, but I would have extended this ladder down further, and I would have extended this ladder up higher. And along the route, I would put down these rusty oxidizers. The rust is probably the most plentiful source of oxygen you're going to get. You'll be able to survive for several hundred cycles on the resource on the rust you'll be able to harvest. And what I would do is use rust as my main oxygen source down the central shaft, and then for the outer edges, I would stick in maybe an oxygen diffuser here and there with a little bit of automation. Say one here, stick in a little bit of automation above it, put in a no. I don't think I've actually researched the automation yet for it. But the plan would be to put something like an Atmos sensor above here and keep the pressure of about 1,000 grams of oxygen out here. That way, I'd still be relying mostly on the core. Now, another thing I'm curious about, but I haven't actually tested it, and I'd love to just test it right now, and that is the robo miners. From what I can see, the robo miners can still, well, they can still mine out granite, but they can't mine out obsidian or abyssalite. But they can mine out iron and pretty much everything else inside this. So if you want to get rid of large chunks of granite, these things actually seem like they're quite good at it. That might be a good idea to actually use that to core out some more space, especially considering the research for it. I mean, if you've got a good researcher, getting up to this tech level is not that bad, and the actual refined metals to make them, also not that bad. And you don't seem to need a mechatronics engineer to build a robo miner. So this might be an idea to actually build a few of these. They could help you out with some rapid expansion. Barring that though, I really did enjoy this map. Okay, I ran face first into an awful lot of problems. An awful lot of problems, but I did learn an awful lot about it. Stone hatches are something I'd still keep going for, but be warned, you're going to basically have to feed them sand. When it comes down to hatches, their diet is, well, you can feed them sand, sedimentary rock, clay, crushed rock, dirt, sedimentary rock. You can feed them a lot of random foods and stuff, but the main thing you're going to have on this map that's going to be plentiful is probably sand and sandstone, I suppose. Yeah, you could feed them a bunch of sandstone. How much sandstone have I got lying around? 100 tons. Might be a better idea to feed them sandstone to start and then switch them over to sand if you really need it. The reason being, once you get them to lay about 50 eggs, they will eventually at some point drop a stone hatch. And once they drop a stone hatch, you can farm those and then you'll be able to feed them for God knows how long. Based on the amount of granite around the map, I'm guessing hundreds of cycles. Definitely something to get into. Now, I'm going to be going on holidays. I'm on holidays Monday to Friday this week. So I'll try and record up a couple of videos beforehand, but I probably won't have a Friday video up. Sorry, I wasn't organized enough to get them all in place. I hope you enjoyed this map anyway. I won't be doing the next video I'll be doing will actually just be a quick tutorial on stuff. I don't want to do up the next map just yet because they're patching this game so frequently right now. If I did up the next map by the time it was released on Wednesday, everything could have changed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this trip to the Badlands and good luck.